நாங்கள் தொடர்ந்தும் ஆஸ்திரேலியாவிலே இருந்து டாக்டர் மதிப்புக்குரிய பிராயன் செனிவரட்னாவுடன் பேசிக்கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். இலங்கை அரசியல் பிரச்சனைகள் தொடர்பான சிங்கள மக்களினுடைய மனோநிலையில் இருக்கக்கூடியவர். எங்களுக்கு நீண்ட காலமாக தமிழருடைய போராட்டத்திலே தொடர்புள்ளவர். இப்பொழுது எங்களுடன் தொடர்ந்து இணைந்திருக்கின்றார். Brian, we can do the more discussion on these matters, but you know the new government, Sirisena's government, it came with a lot of promises. International community totally backed him up, and even Tamil politicians and Tamil people voted him to be in the power. Now, what do you think it's going to happen for the Tamil question in Sri Lanka through this Sirisena's government?
He can make 100 promises in 100 days or whatever he wants to do it. The question at issue is, what is he delivering? And it came out very clearly. When he blasted the Rajapaksa government, of which he was not only a member, but a senior member and the defense minister, when all the atrocities were being committed. He has a case to answer, that man. And if there is an open international inquiry into war crimes, he will be roped in too. When he blasted off and said why he was coming forward as the president or the common candidate, the word Tamil was not mentioned. I don't think even to this day he has mentioned the word Tamil. For fear of upsetting the Sinhala voters. You see, Sirisena has a problem in that he doesn't even have a majority in parliament. He's talking in terms of constitutional reforms. To have constitutional reforms in Sri Lanka, you got to have a 2/3 majority in parliament. That man is a minority, and he's relying on the next election. At the next election, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa might contest as a member of parliament, and he might be the next prime minister. And then Mr. Sirisena will be, not Sirisena, Wickramasinghe will be the fellow who opens the gates at the Temple Trees, because that is the official residence of the prime minister, and Rajapaksa will move in. So you can have 100 promises or 200 promises. It is what is in your heart. What is your intention? What is your agenda that matters? And the agenda is very clear when he said the army will stay in the north. And so did Wickramasinghe, and so did Sarath Fonseca.
So, Brian, why your cousin Chandrika didn't contest as the president for the presidency?
She would not have had a chance. She was actually behind the Sirisena coming forward. Sirisena was Chandrika's pet when she was in the SLFP. Everybody knows that. I know it certainly. And I think that Chandrika was contacted by a foreign power. I can tell you who it was. It was Bill Clinton saying, look, Rajapaksa is looking too much towards Beijing. He should look at the US, and that was not likely to occur. And if that's the score, then there should be a regime change. Now there were two candidates, herself and Ranil Wickramasinghe, neither of whom, in my opinion, would have been assured of a victory. And therefore, Chandrika said the only way of assuring victory is to get someone from the Rajapaksa regime to contest him, and I think she was the one who persuaded or arm twisted or pressured Sirisena to contest.
So you said to change the constitution, Sri Lankan government need a 2/3 majority to change the constitution, and after the election, parliamentary election, the whole mathematics will be changed. And whole scenario, we may face different scenarios. So whatever happens now, the change, then we may come to a dead end. Do you think that is going to happen?
Well, you got to remember that when they say Sirisena was swept into power, that is nonsense. That is arrant nonsense. He didn't sweep into power. He crept into power with a 1.5% majority. I mean, had the Tamils in the north and the east not voted for this man, Sirisena would have ended up in jail, or even worse than that, as did Sarath Fonseca. Sirisena's position as president, he owes the Tamil people in the north and the east. And let him not forget about it. And if he does forget about it, let us remind him constantly that it is the votes in the hill country Tamils and certainly the votes in the Tamil speaking areas that put him into power and not into jail.
So the Sirisena's 100 days, the plan, 100 days plan, is there anything good to solve the ethnic problem in Sri Lanka, or at least some relief for Tamil people? Have you seen anything happen so far?
Yes, not the Tamil people. I think Sirisena did a wonderful job in getting rid of a tyrant, a hooligan, a murderer, who was there to stay. I mean, let's face it, if Rajapaksa was not thrown out by Sirisena, Rajapaksa intended to stay for the next 100 years. He, followed by his son, followed by his grandson and great-grandson, and we would have had Rajapaksas forever. So I respect and I'm grateful to Sirisena that he threw out Rajapaksa. Apart from that, well, he changed the Chief Justice. So what on earth? He replaced a crook by Shirani Bandaranaike, whose appointment, incidentally, was opposed by a lot of lawyers. She was not the Chief Justice, the most senior justice. She was an academic who should not have been appointed in the first instance because, I mean, she was not eligible for the position of Chief Justice. And then he said, okay, she has to return to the post of Chief Justice for 1 day.
1 day.
So she admitted and then discharged herself the next day. One thing I can say for Sirisena, and that I admire him for, he appointed a Tamil as Chief Justice, and a very fine Chief Justice at that. And for doing that, I applaud him. Apart from that, the guy has talked, that's about it.
See, Sarath Fonseca, he got the Field Marshal position now. And,
oh my God.
Chief Justice.
That's the worrying thing. Here is actually, I expected Sarath Fonseca to be the Minister of Defense. And I don't think there is a Minister of Defense. So we got a 300,000 army without a Minister of Defense. There is a state Minister of Defense, but not a national Minister of Defense. Sarath Fonseca is behind the scenes, doing much more than being the Minister of Defense. He's the chief armed force advisor to Sirisena. Sarath Fonseca should be arrested as soon as he sets foot in the United States and charged with crimes against humanity, because that's what he has done.
See, he got the promotion, Sarath Fonseca got the promotion, and also the former Chief Justice also got her job back, at least for a day, and he got a good pension and retirement and everything. But these people are affected by Rajapaksa regime, and as well our a lot of Tamil political leaders actually from 2009, people don't know whereabouts of all these people. But none of these people were not released by Sirisena government so far. What do you think the reason for these moves?
The reason is that Sirisena is part of the Rajapaksa regime. You know, they are friends. When I launched a printed copy of my book on rape in Sydney, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I said Sirisena is a friend of Rajapaksa, someone put his hand up and said, Professor Senratna, you got it wrong. He is not a friend, he is a close friend of Gotabaya. I said, is that so? He said, yes, and everybody knows it except you. And you know, they are all friends. You can talk about the way that Sirisena did about Rajapaksa, saying, oh, he has wrecked the country and this and that. But when it comes down to the wire, he says, no, they will not be tried or taken away from Sri Lanka under any circumstance. He will not allow it because they are friends.
So now you were a little bit alarming about the coming parliamentary election because Rajapaksa may get more power. He can be the next prime minister of Sri Lanka because of the political situation there. Now, what will be the strategy for Rajapaksa for his future in these elections and after the election?
The strategy for Rajapaksa is very simple. He will contest as a member of parliament for Gaul or Matara or Hambantota or something, and he will probably have the majority of MPs in parliament. And if you have the majority of members of parliament, the party with the majority, he has to be the prime minister. President Sirisena has got the right to say, no, I'm sorry, Ranil Wickremesinghe leading a minority will be the prime minister. That will be a violation of the constitution and everything else. And Rajapaksa, if he plays his cards right, will probably win the election. That's not the question. The more important question is what are the mistakes that Sirisena has made. You may well know that on the night of the election, there was a call for the army to come from I think it was one of the army camps in Omagama or wherever that place is, to Colombo. There was a strategy for a coup. Now, to have a coup is treason, and Rajab and Sirisena should have said, right, we are going to have an investigation into the coup right now, and then take this to court, and if there is evidence of a coup, which there is, no question about it. Lock up the coup leaders according to the law. If the law, the legal people agree that there was a coup, then it is a criminal charge, and the penalty will be, of course, fixed by the lawyers, but it will be jail.
So Rajapaksa have another life. May have another life after the parliamentary election, and that will change the whole parliamentary numbers, and the two-third majority won't be there. The constitution won't be changed. Now we Tamils issue back to the square one. Now in that that is the expectation because of the presidential election. Rajapaksa got 52% of the Sinhalese vote. So he have better chance to be the next prime minister of the Sri Lanka. Now, in that scenario, we know the political stagnation will happen after the parliamentary election, and whatever the 100 days or Sirisena's government, it won't do much about anything. Now, in that situation, what the diaspora Tamils should do to make this political issue, Tamil issue, to bring a political solution for the Tamil people through UN or some other means, what the diaspora Tamil organization should do?
You see, when you say back to square one, it's not exactly square one, it's square one plus one, and that one is Vigneswaran. They will find it very difficult to silence Vigneswaran unless, of course, they shoot him. I think we need to get Vigneswaran to Geneva. After all, he is a Supreme Court judge. He has a perfect command of the language and the intelligence needed. And the other person we should have got is Bishop Rayapu Joseph. I always tell people, when they say they visited Sri Lanka, I said, never mind about visiting Sri Lanka. Did you go and meet Bishop Rayapu Joseph? The answer is no. I said, why not? I wrote a book about Rayapu Joseph because I thought that guy was going to be killed. In fact, I invited Rayapu Joseph to Australia to stay with me and to talk to the people. He said, look, Brian, I'll be delighted to come, but I may not be able to get back. No, I think that we've got Vigneswaran, who has the courage and the determination and the ability to take the Tamil struggle forward, Rajapaksa or no Rajapaksa. I don't think that Rajapaksa is going to be able to silence Vigneswaran. I
So,
think the expatriate Tamil community have got to support Vigneswaran unconditionally.
so your point of view, the Vigneswaran is the right choice for the moving the Tamil struggle forward.
Absolutely. Vigneswaran, Rapu Joseph, and as important, Tamil civil society. Tamil civil society is an academic lot. They are not politicians, but they are a very bright lot, and they've got the correct idea. And now led by Vigneswaran. In fact, Tamil civil society was set up by Bishop Rapu Joseph. I've been in communication with them. They are an unknown group, but a very intelligent and very able lot. But Vigneswaran is out of this world. I'm so glad that I have not met Vigneswaran, but I've been in communication with him for a long, long time. He had no intention of doing what he did. He was actually going to retire and become, I don't know, a Hindu priest or something like that. Unfortunately, someone persuaded him to come as the head of the provincial council.
So again, we come back to the diaspora. So we, according to your point of view, the Vigneswaran can take the lead on this Tamil struggle, and what diaspora should do in that situation.
The diaspora can shout. They can shout and shout and shout. Ask for a boycott of Sri Lanka, an economic boycott, a boycott of cricket, a boycott of everything. We don't buy clothes manufactured in a racist country. We won't. We won't buy tea. We won't send tourists there. We will do what we did to apartheid South Africa. And if it worked, in fact, I spoke to some of the ANC leaders, including some of the key ANC leaders, and they said, you know what, dismantle apartheid South Africa, not the resolutions passed in the UN, but it was a boycott, and especially economic boycott and a boycott on cricket. I don't know about cricket, but an economic boycott in a country that is struggling financially. You know, Sri Lanka is broke. It's completely flat broke. We don't have, our debt repayment is greater than the income of the country. I think rough figures, we pay out, our income is ₹1 trillion. The expenditure is 2 trillion, particularly feeding and clothing and paying for the armed forces, 300,000 people. So, and of course, all the money that has been robbed from Sri Lanka by the Rajapaksas and all their cronies. If we enforce a boycott of this struggling country, Sirisena will come to its knees. The plantation Tamils, who have been looked down upon by people of your ethnic group, the Tamils, they always look down on the plantation Tamils. And I kept saying they are the strongest thing that God has ever given the Tamil people. And even the LTTE, they should have had a strategy to rope in the plantation Tamils, because if the plantation Tamils down their tools, the Sinhalese are not going to pick tea. I can assure you of that. That is why the British brought the plantation Tamils from Tamil Nadu. Now, I think that we have to think of an economic boycott, isolation, that's the word I was looking for, an isolation of Sri Lanka on its human rights record, as we did with apartheid South Africa.
But are you expecting the September, even though it is delayed, the UN human rights report, the September report, it is going to be harsh on Sri Lanka, or it is going to be a whitewash again?
Sri Lanka will try to postpone it again. Zaid, if he is to retain any credibility at all, will have stability. Whether it works with acts, you see the problem about the Human Rights Council as well as a lot of these UN things is that they don't have the power. There is a thing called the UN R2P, responsibility to protect, which is in my book on rape, and it was torn down by the person who actually launched my book in Sydney, Justice Dowd, QC, who is the head of a major legal group. And he said, I disagree with the author, that's me, on R2P. Has never been applied. It is a weak law which was not meant to be applied. Well, if it was not to be meant to be applied, it should be withdrawn. As long as R2P, responsibility to protect, is there, we should demand that the United Nations applies it. And if Sri Lanka refuses to allow it, then there is provision in the R2P for the use of force as a last resort.
Brian, now we have almost come to the end of this discussion. If there is anything you wanted to say in conclusion?
Yes, there is, and that is an appeal to the expatriate Tamil communities to drop this defeatist attitude. You know, we've lost, it's all gone. That is precisely what the Sirisena government and the Rajapaksa government before that has been trying to do, to make us despondent. And if we fall for that, then we are gone. And I have been always accused of preaching to the converted, which I have done. But I think the converted have to remain converted. And that is why it is critically important. I'm not looking for a free joyride. I will pay for it myself. For me to address meetings in Canada, in the US, UK, or Australia, and everywhere else, and the US, to addressing the expatriate Tamil community and say, look, you have got to act. You cannot say it's all gone, it's all done. Because that is what the Sirisena and Rajapaksa and Wickramasinghe governments want done.
Thank you, Brian, for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you. A lot of information we have discussed, and this is very important discussion because you are a Sinhalese, you are very related to the Sri Lankan, some of the ruling regime, but still you are fighting for Tamil people's self-determination or Elam. Thank you very much for that. We will see you another time. Thanks.
Well, I'll mention the only Tamil word that I know, Nandri.
Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you very much.